Agree! And very, very mean!
This box is huge. What's going on, guys? It's Rustbelt Collector here, and today we are taking a look at something that I have wanted to get my hands on for a very, very long time. But to do that, we're going to have to come back here to the lens and zoom out because the box, well, that's all the zoom I have, but the box is huge. And there we go. And look, there's my face. You can kind of warp it like one of those funny farm, those goofy, mirrors in like a fun house at a fair or something. That's what's going on there. But yeah, we're taking a look at the Halo 3 ODST drop pod with the rookie. Oh man, this is going to be fun. So first off, we're going to take a look at the packaging as much as we can with the camera angles we have at our disposal here. First off, you have a giant drop pod, of course, the ODST drop pod with the panel. That all goes together. You also have the rookie figure way up here, and we'll get into that once we open it up. Now, of course, you can't see it, so we'll turn it sideways. You also have the fins, like the slowdown fins. That's what I'm going to call them for right now. The fins that make the pod go slower when it's dropping from atmosphere. Yeah, they look a little bit warped in the package. I don't think necessarily it's because the package is damaged. I think that it's just because they're kind of free-floating and they're probably a softer plastic. So over time they've warped. And my face looks really goofy there, so I'm going to try and ignore that until we get this packaging open so it's not mirrored as much. As for the design of the packaging, I like it. It's pretty simple. This is just a product photo. It's not like a drawing or anything like on, the Black Series or something like that. Just a drawing, or just a photo. Sometimes they use game captures. Here on the side, it's another photo of the actual product, all out of the box and looking pretty cool. On the back, we have, now this is actually interesting to me. You have Halo 4 characters, the Grunt and the Spartan here, and also the Master Chief in Cryotube. I never knew that this came out in the Halo 4 line, but apparently it did, which is really interesting to me. This didn't come out when Halo 3 ODST came out, or when any of the other Halo 3 ODST figures came out. It came out in the Halo 4 line, so kudos to them for revisiting a very iconic piece of Halo games. I mean, this is from Halo 3, this is from Halo 2, and it's also from Halo 3 ODST, which, what could be more classic and obvious than an ODST drop pod from, an ODST game. However, on the back you can also see these micro ops, something that I also was not aware of. I've been kind of out of the Halo toy line for just a little bit. I never knew that they made this, but I guess it's some sort of game or 1/100th scale playsets, vehicles, and figures. I don't know. I guess it's kind of cool because you get like high ground here, which is a Halo 3 map. You've got bunkers from that one Halo 3 map that I don't remember. Not high ground, but another one where it's all the missile silos. You got ODST drop pods, Banshees, Ghosts, Warthogs and Mongooses, and Falcons, which is a pretty good lineup, I would say. I don't think this line really went very far. I don't really remember seeing anything beyond this initial wave, but it's pretty cool. I'm glad they made them. I don't own any of them, but hey, it's cool. Anyways, I've gone on way too long about the box. There's one more side. It just kind of gives you some general information about removable hatch, doors open, telescoping drag chute. But apart from that, I think we should just break this open and take a look at how good or bad it is. And here's what you're going to see once you get all of it knocked loose out of the packaging. Couple complaints that I have right off the bat. First of all, it was all zip tied in. Like, not just like rubber banded in, but these are like, this is actually the thinnest of them, but it was zip tied in everywhere else, and it was a very, very difficult process to clip all of those annoying zip ties. So if you're going to make a toy brand, don't use zip ties to hold the items in the packaging. My other complaints will be more when I get into the figure, including his accessories or lack thereof. But we'll set this aside for now, although I'm really excited to get into this. And we'll talk about the drop pod first, and then we'll get to the figure. First up, we gotta talk about just the sheer scale of this drop pod. It is really large, and it seems larger than I would have expected like the scale to be. I guess in game, I just felt like it's smaller. compared to the character, I guess. So here's an ODST. ODSTs are, of course, smaller than a Spartan. So he's, you know, like that in it. I just feel like that's big. I don't know. Here's him standing beside it, and it seems like he should be at least up here. But I don't know. I guess I'd have to look at some comparison like shots from in-game to see if it actually is. Maybe I'm just kind of confused seeing it in a actual three-dimensional form in my hands versus encountering it in a game. So I don't know, but overall it's really detailed, very nicely weathered. You have a lot of dry brushing going on here on the panels to get like that silver scratched look, little red details there. I missed some rubber bands here, so let me just kind of quickly cut those off. There we go. And then we'll come over here and carefully cut those. There we go. And then it looks like, at first in the package, I was like, oh cool, it comes with like little books or like pamphlets that would be some sort of instruction manual. But those aren't, I'm not sure what these are. They're just little inserts of some kind, and I'm assuming that I'm supposed to take them out. Yes, so that happened. So that just slides back in like so, but I guess that's some sort of tension to keep it from falling out in the packaging. You wouldn't want the doors flopping around while the box is being stored on store shelves. But man, that is a little tough to actually get out. Okay, unless you're supposed to, I can't imagine that you're supposed to keep a piece of folded cardboard in there, so I'm going to take it out and I'll be right back. Okay, so with both of those out, you can now see how the doors kind of pull out that far and then open to the side, and then to get them back in, you kind of got to push them straight back, and they will line up. They should line up just about like that, which is pretty cool. And then you have this panel, move this back, you have this panel with the same nice weathering, cool clear paneling there to like look out of. On the inside you have all the display screens, which is really nice, as well as a few exposed screws, which isn't a big deal. And then that should fit. I'm assuming you probably got to take the panels out a little bit and then kind of slot that on like so, maybe, and then fit that in there. Kind of figuring this out on camera, so bear with me. But that's, I mean, that's pretty good, right? That looks pretty good. It's not a super snug fit. I'd actually say like the Mega Block version fits a lot better than this version. Kind of, there we go. Maybe, sort of. Yeah, thereabouts. So that's the drop pod more or less closed up. It's really nice, very well detailed. I think probably displaying it and using it for toy photography, the panel will be open, you know, like it's dropped in, panels popped off, and an ODST is exiting the craft. I think that makes more sense than ever displaying it like this. This just kind of looks like a metal bean. Ooh, look, I have a metal bean with windows. Not very exciting. Then you have this thingy here. This is, ooh, that does that thing. Okay, so that makes sense. So this is the telescoping drag chute. Like I supposed in looking at it from the outside, this is like a softer plastic, a little bit more malleable, and so from heat or storage or just time in the packaging, these two fins have kind of warped, but they probably will, I could probably correct those by heating them up and then reforming them a little bit, but that has a hinge, so it can fold down like that, as well as, like I was showing, it's got like a telescoping action so that it can be at the top. This thing kind of, it does not really want to go in there, and I don't want to force it, so I'm not going to force it all the way, but basically it does that. It can go like that. It can fold down around, maybe like this, maybe like this. I don't know. It doesn't look too good on there, honestly. But yeah, it kind of does that, more or less. It's a little bit warped. It's a little bit wonky. I'm probably not going to keep that on there, or this, if I can get it out without breaking it. I'll do that off camera. But it comes with this. You can display it with this, or, you know, however you like. I'm not a big fan of it, but it is nice that they, you know, took the effort to include it. It's just something that could have used a little bit more engineering. I feel like it doesn't sit right on there. It should, when these fold down, it should like be all the way folded down around it, but it's not. So yeah, it's still cool though, don't get me wrong. I am really happy to have this. I wasn't really planning to do anything with the drag chute to begin with. It was more about getting the drop pod itself with the opening doors and of course the ODST figure, which we are about to get into. And here we go. I cranked the camera in just a little bit so that we can really center in on the detail of this figure. He's got a lot of really, really nice detail. One of the best aspects of the McFarlane figures was just the sheer amount of finely detailed sculpting that's going on. And this figure definitely is one of them. You've got all this nice pouch work and strap work going on the chest plate and around the torso there. You've got, I'm going to be very careful because I don't want to break this, but you got grenades there, or you know, some sort of cells, grenades. You've got some pouches going on here on the knees, or on the shins rather. Some more pouches on the thigh. Really nice armor detailing on the shins as well. Same goes for the arms, of course. You've got great detailing there with some really nice silver highlights, shoulder pads. The cool blue metallic visor painted on there just looks really nice. And yeah, I mean, overall, this is an ODST. And oh, can't forget, there is really nice camouflage painted on the thighs as well, which is another really cool detail. But yeah, this is a really solid figure, I feel like, in terms of sculpt. Now, one of the things I knew going into this was that these figures, these smaller scale figures, like the Marines, Sergeant Johnson, and especially the ODSTs, they're brittle. Not brittle, they're just, they have very small joints. Like if you look at just that wrist joint, it is so very tiny, and I'm kind of concerned that just twisting it or bending it the wrong way could break it, or over time it could wear out more rapidly than a bulkier joint. So that's one downside. That's something that I've heard multiple people say about these ODSTs, whether it's the Halo 3 ODSTs, like from the game Halo 3, or the Halo 3 ODSTs, like Dutch and Mickey and those guys. So with this being the first one that I have in hand, I can definitely see where that comes from, but I will be careful with all of my posing just to make sure that I don't damage it. That said, let's take a look at what the articulation is on this figure. For the head, I believe he has a double ball joint, so you can get some swivel there. Not much side to side. I mean, there's a ball joint in there, and there might even be like a dumbbell joint, but just because of the way it's sculpted, you don't get a lot of movement. Like, there's no real forward, a little bit up, but it doesn't really want to stay there. And then you got like the side to side. Kind of one of the drawbacks of McFarlane figures in general. They have like really good joints, but then the sculpt of the joints inhibits the joints. And I don't understand why they do that, but again, they kind of make, I would almost call them like little figurines. These aren't meant to be played with per se. They're meant to be posed maybe once or twice and then kind of displayed. That's kind of, that's been my understanding of this line, because they're never built very durably, and so, or with much durability. I don't know what the proper grammar is there, but they just seem to lack that in some ways, and so yeah, it's the main drawback. I love this line. I love this ODST. My gosh, I'm so happy to have one, but I'm still nervous about it. Anyways, on the torso, there is maybe a ball joint or just a simple swivel. You can't get much out of it because of the sculpting on his chest plate there, but there's something, and you can definitely get some poses with that. A little bit of ab crunch, maybe no back, but like side to side, and then just a little bit of an ab crunch there. Then for the shoulders, there is a swivel at the shoulder here, as well as at the bicep you have the upward hinge and then a swivel there. Really pretty good for, you know, a McFarlane figure. You also then get a secondary bicep swivel a little bit lower, and then a standard single jointed elbow, a hinge, and a swivel at the hand, which is very, very scary and very delicate, and I don't want to break it. So there's that, and then it's replicated here with the same in and out hinge. It doesn't have like an up and a down tilt, which I think I would prefer, kind of like with the Black Series figures and like the TVC figures, but it does the job. For the hips, you have a swivel and then a ball joint, I believe, here that kind of gives you a little bit of like an outward swivel. So you can definitely get it into a more or less seated position just by doing this. But that's as far as you're going to get it. That's as much of a knee bend as you're going to get. That's as much of a sitting position you'll get for the thighs. And let's see if we can get this guy seated in the drop pod like this. Given that articulation, you can get him pretty well seated in the drop pod. It's not a clean fit. You can't get his legs to sit flat on that little panel there. So I'm guessing probably that it might be, yeah, kind of gets inhibited, like this panel gets inhibited by his feet being there. So that probably wouldn't close very well with him in it. I'm not going to display it that way. It's not an issue for me, but I could definitely see where a collector or anyone really might be kind of disappointed to find out that they can't put the character in there very well with the panel. Another issue that I have with this figure is the hip joints seem to really want to get caught up here when you have them there, so then when you bring it down, it just wants to swivel the thigh, and it doesn't want to bring down the inner swivel there, so you kind of have to like push in and force it down. But really, that's just kind of the territory of owning a McFarlane figure. They just have to be cared for in a very particular way. You can't really play with them the same way that you would with other action figures. You have to be careful when posing them, and you can't force anything. I learned the hard way with my very first ever Spartan action figure that I had way back when as a kid. A cyan blue EVA Halo 3 Spartan with a Spartan laser. I had him, and I tried to force his leg forward, and it just snapped off in my hand. And I had to glue it, and ever since then, he's kind of just had a game leg that's been glued. It's kind of like, oh yeah, ever since I took an arrow to the thigh, it's just, things haven't been the same. Yeah, I'll definitely showcase that Spartan when I do my full Halo action figure collection tour. That will be coming out eventually, I don't know. I'm behind on my log of videos that I plan to film, and so I'll catch up to it eventually. Overall, I'm really happy with this figure. I love finally owning a Halo 3 ODST. I really need to get more ODSTs. I want to get the full set of the characters from Halo 3 ODST. I also really want to get the Halo 3 ODSTs like from the Ark, the Mission the Ark. I think they made those figures with like the red and white shoulder markings. I really want to get more Halo Reach Spartans, especially the armor packs. Oh my gosh, those are hard to find, but I really want the Steel and Sage armor packs for those guys as well. Eventually, again, I will get them, I'll track them down, but it's easier said than done with certain packs. Anyways, back to this set at hand, let's just do a quick comparison. This is the ODST beside a Halo Reach Spartan Gungnire. And then here he is next to a Halo 3 Spartan Recon. And I think he pairs pretty well with the Halo 3 Spartan. This guy might be a little bit tall because even beside these two, they are, there's a height difference there. And of course, the Halo 3 Spartans should be bigger than the Halo Reach Spartans. They should be up here because these are Spartan 2s and these are Spartan 3s, which they were a little bit shorter, more stocky. It's not that big of a deal. There's not a lot of consistency with McFarlane scales, so I'm kind of used to it. However, it would have been nice. But if you have just Halo 3 Spartans and you pair them with your ODSTs, I think that that's a pretty fair comparison. Putting them, you know, back to back, that seems pretty realistic in my opinion. So that's not bad. I'm happy that they scaled them within the Halo 3 line. Maybe not the Halo Reach line, but at least within the Halo 3 line, it works out pretty well. And finally, we got to talk about the accessories, all two of them. First up, he comes with a standard Halo M6 Magnum, which I'm very disappointed by. This is my first point. It should be the SOCOM. It should be the silenced Magnum like it is in the game. Unfortunately, it's not, and I don't think that it has... Well, it has this peg here, which is the Halo 3 sculpt, so it has a peg that allows it to do this on a Spartan, just like that, just like in game. However, with this figure, it doesn't have that option, so he can just hold it in his hand if you so desire, but he can't store it anywhere. Let's see, I don't want to break it. I'm very scared of breaking this figure. Be very gentle. Gently. Kind of flex his hand outward a little bit. Okay, it took some finagling, and I think this broke, just like on one part. I think that handguard broke out, unfortunately, because it's very brittle. But yeah, he can hold this pretty well. He can almost hold it. Can he hold it with two hands? Yeah, kind of. He can kind of grip it with two hands, almost. Looks okay. Might look better if you kind of have him in a action pose where he's all Rambo-y and kind of just single-handedly shooting at the grunts and the brutes with it. That might look a little bit better, but I think, best of all, it'll probably look best with the SMG, the suppressed SMG. It looks pretty awesome. I'm pretty happy that they actually made it like this. It does have a little bit of flash there where they didn't quite clean up the mold, but not a big deal. I can take care of that with an X-Acto knife. However, I do know with these, like a lot of the Halo accessories in this line, it's very brittle, so I'm also careful with this because it's very thin plastic. Like, look at how thin that is, especially the grips where it should be the most durable, it's the thinnest there. So kind of am anticipating breaking this on my first try. I don't want to, but I will be very, very careful getting this in. Okay, he holds that without too much fuss, so that's nice. And this, he should have no problem holding with two hands. Oh yeah, there we go. That looks so much better. That looks pretty good. I'm really happy with that, and I'm super happy to finally own this. I'll definitely be taking some photos of it for my Instagram page, and yeah, you'll see those posted up there eventually. My only other complaint with this, and I noticed this in the packaging, was just that they didn't give Rookie his backpack. I understand that because, you know, he has to sit in here, he can't wear the backpack in this particular set, but they even covered up the slot right there where the backpack would normally peg in, and so kind of disappointed with that. They could have included it as a removable accessory, but instead they didn't, and so it's really, I mean, it's the Rookie, it's still the Rookie, but he's never seen without his backpack in the game, so I don't know why they did that. And the only other thing that I noticed with this while just kind of wrapping up the video is that right here these slots are where the ODST would normally store his weapons, and it's definitely too big to hold anything like this, so he just kind of has to put it somewhere else, and he can't put it there because it's not going to work there. But apart from that, that is basically the entirety of this review, I think. There's not much else to say about it. I'm really happy to have it. I'm really happy to have an ODST figure finally. Super happy about that. So as always, guys, there's a link down in the description to my Instagram, my Facebook, my Teespring, as well as my P.O. Box address. Anything that's sent there, I will do like an unboxing video of. And yeah, that just about wraps everything up that I can think of. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you that likes, comments, subscribes, DMs me over on Instagram, all that good stuff. You guys are really awesome, and you guys are the best. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all those interactions, and I will be sure to catch you all in the next video. Bye now.